Well, hey guys, welcome and thank you for joining us here under the lantern. My name is Clay. I mean, shit, my name is Asher. God damn it.
I was gonna say your name's Asher, my name's Clay.
Hey,
We've
look, I'm a few drinks down right now, so.
we've been doing so good, and then we decide like, hey, we're gonna record two pretty quick back to back to have them ready to go, and it's shit.
uh, hey, in my defense, I was doing really good, and for some reason I was just thinking Clay in my head for absolutely what reason I have no idea of, and that just came the fuck out, but. Anyways, welcome back yet again to another episode of Under the Lantern. Um, it unlike well, I guess depending on whenever you decide to upload this, but unlike last episode, we didn't wait too long to I guess record this one. As we said, we're trying to kind of get more episodes out to you guys over however time slots we have is during the next however long. So
Yeah,
it's a process. We're still trying to figure out obviously we can't stick to a straightforward strict schedule, but we're trying to work through keeping the time between these episodes a little bit shorter than they have been so that we can get this stuff out to you.
yeah, we had said in the last one we were gonna try better to try to find those holes, and I legitimately like 20 minutes ago shot Asher a message, and I was like, hey, I what do you think about hopping in on one? I got like an hour right now, and we can record a little bit more. I know the last episode too, we we kind of hit more on like the crazy shit that had happened since the last time we did any of this. And so when we were talking about what we were going to talk about, it was one of those kind of like, well, we didn't even touch on half the shit that happened since Christmas. Like I swear an entire year happened in between the last episode we shot there at the beginning of December and today. Like,
Yeah, I mean, the world is currently kind of in a whirlwind. There's been a lot going on.
I mean, bless
Most
him.
recent,
Trump's like,
obviously, dealing with dealing with all the whole ice situation, and then just the stuff going on internationally. There's been so much just jam packed in 2 months that we've kind of just haven't had the chance to get out there. So
wait, funny enough too.
I know.
I was gonna laugh at that one too. You say the ice stuff, and then we're sitting here in the middle of. I'm putting air quotes, not that anyone can see it, but the blizzard of a century, the ice storm that just swept through the entire southern half of the United States. I I saw some clips out of.
Yeah, I mean it's
Why can I not think it? It was somewhere in Mississippi, and they got like an inch and a half of ice. Like when you drive through town, every tree is like shattered.
yeah. I know right now Tennessee has gotten hit pretty bad. There's been a
Yeah,
lot of power outages and a lot of issues in and around those areas and up in Tennessee. So it's been a pretty crazy couple months for sure.
I was.
In Texas, we saw snow again, yet again in Texas. It's been, you know, the
Wait,
recent years have been crazy in terms of the weather and the climate
the other two
around
funny
everything
things
in
that
this entire country.
the other two funny things I saw too is like, yeah, we've got the in Texas we've got all that, but then I was laughing one at the news earlier. I just had it on and kind of looking at a couple of the daily events things, but at the bottom they had a ticker for like this state has this many people out of power. This state has this many people out of power, and then it popped up Alabama. And so, like, Texas was something like 135,000 without power. Tennessee, 200,000 without power. Alabama, 700. I was like, oh, there's only 700 in Alabama, and that made the, like, breaking news ticker. Like, I would imagine at any point in time, any state in the country has 700 people that are having power issues. Just like a tree's come down, a car hit a pole, something. But I saw that one, and
Yeah,
then I saw two. Everybody's mad because really the entire country is about to go into an Arctic plunge tonight. Like I know I've seen places in the South for the first time seeing single digit or negative numbers on temperature wise, but Florida is still like 85 and sunny the entire state.
Yeah, I mean, it's not much cold you can really have when it comes to the equator, you know. So
they're, they're not close
just
to the
Florida's just
equator.
Florida. They're closer than we are.
Yeah, but I mean, they're. Hold on. I'm pulling up a map because I'm not as great with geography as I would think. Yeah, like Florida is not much farther south than Texas, and Texas is about to be frozen. Like, there's no reason that it should just miss Florida other than, like, for some reason, Florida's just got a force field.
I don't know, but you know, Florida's Florida. We all know Florida. Florida has some
Florida
crazy shit going
man.
on with it, but yeah. I mean, they're calling for another storm for the southeast this upcoming weekend, and it's just I don't necessarily believe them.
I don't either. I don't
Purely
believe it until
because
we're. Yeah, this one was
this one's
supposed to
supposed to be
be
one
like
for the history books. Like,
everyone get
oh, we're
two,
gonna
3 feet of
remember this
snow.
yeah, we're gonna remember this one for the rest of our lives. And what happened? Nothing. You know, most of it's gone today. If not, pretty much practically all of it's gone today. It's just like refrozen. But
I was about to say I've still
you know,
got quite a bit on the
it's
ground
not
where I'm at, but it, it's a little bit on
it's
the
not
ground.
like
But yeah, it's nothing history breaking.
and I mean we have had pretty record breaking snowfall a few years back. So I mean I wouldn't consider this much of anything. And you know, shit. I mean, all the roads are perfect right now. I was literally on the road a little while ago, and it wasn't bad by any means. So
Mine are still a little
I don't know.
fucked
I
up,
mean,
but I'm a little farther north than you are.
yeah, I know. There was a tornado warning or watch or something for
Yeah, I
some of the
saw.
southern states, like Missouri and
Oh, where was that?
like
Because
upper section of Florida and a bit of Alabama, I believe,
my
had a
mom
bit
sent
of
me a
tornado watch.
my mom sent me an X post, and I just pulled it back up, and it's not saying where, but somebody got a picture in the blizzard where they were. So I'm guessing probably Ohio, something like that, somewhere where they did get more of the snow event. But in the middle of the snow and seeing a tornado in the distance.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a crazy we're in a crazy time right now. We're in a crazy climate, you know. Has it's been crazy seeing snow and all that a little bit past the season for us, but it's you know, the world keeps on ticking, I guess.
Yeah,
But
we just keep going,
I
do what we
mean,
can.
yeah. I mean, the kind of bringing it back to what we were kind of talking about last week or last I guess last podcast, which is a couple of days ago. Um, there's been quite a bit going on. We haven't quite touched bases, and even since the last episode, there has been quite a lot also kind of compounding and building up. I think the biggest thing that kind of sticks out to me is the whole Venezuela issue.
Fuck, dog. That was not on my bingo card. Waking up like, 'cause I know specifically it was the night in between the second and the third here in the states, which I guess it would have been there too. But the I remember going to bed and I had a date on the third. And so, like, I was going to get up and I was going to drive and everything like that. And so I get up and I put the news on. And it's like, yeah, last night we went and took Maduro. And I was like, fucking excuse me? We did
I
what?
think the I think the thing that really sticks out to me the most is now we obviously know Maduro is essentially a dictator, right? He was a very big um I guess drug trafficker to the US,
Mm-hmm.
mind you. And not only that, but he was practically a murderer, assassinating his own people in the streets for absolute nonsense. And he's just a dictator. Like he was a dictator of Venezuela. The people did not appoint him. He took over Venezuela and ruled it as a dictator. And I think the biggest surprise to me was not the reaction of the Venezuelans, but the reaction of the Americans and the counter reaction of the Venezuelans in the US seeing and reacting to what US Americans were, kind of doing about the whole situation. I mean, we had mass outbreaks of protest to free Maduro, right? You had these liberals going out there saying, "Oh, we need to free Maduro. We have no rights to do this. We Trump didn't um get the approvals to actually go out and capture Maduro and all this stuff." And it's what's interesting to me the most about it is the people, the Venezuelans that are in Venezuela and the Venezuelans that are in the U.S. both like, like I've seen separate different videos from again both sides, and they both are like the American people don't understand the situation that Venezuela was in, and they're not Venezuelan, so they wouldn't understand exactly what Maduro was doing as a dictator, essentially. And so it's very hypocritical that we have, you know, all these people that are protesting to free Maduro, yet they're the exact ones that are calling Trump a dictator when they're requesting to free a dictator.
That was one of the things that I remember laughing about the most. It was 77 days. 77 days between everybody marching in the streets, no kings, fuck Trump. We don't want a dictator here in the United States. And then capturing Maduro and everybody in the marching in the streets again, like, release Maduro. He was just doing what he thought was best for his people. So you're telling me somebody that is not a dictator, who is specifically doing the opposite. If Trump wants to be a dictator, he's doing a real bad job about going about it. But
Yeah,
then turn around and somebody who legitimately called for the death of a rightfully elected official to the Venezuelan government and then continued to sit in power even after he was voted out. We're like, he's
and
not a
again,
dictator.
killing thousands of his own people and doing all these illegal, drug trafficking rings and all these illegal things, sex trafficking rings, all that kind of stuff. Like this guy is not a politician. He is a dictator and he is a gang member. And you guys are trying to free this man, like you are supporting this kind of criminal behavior. Like this is not in the benefit of Venezuela at all. It's exactly against it. And so it's astonishing to me that we have individuals in our country that say they are against dictators but support the biggest one that we have currently on this, in this generation on this planet. And it's outrageous that people don't just open their eyes, look at the facts and understand that, you know, this guy is not a good person. And again, the whole law factor of it, right? We have had presidents in the past that have not gotten approval and still deployed troops. Hell, D-Day, I think I saw something about D-Day where D-Day was actually not approved, yet troops were launched and look at what the outcome was.
Oh, one
Right?
of the
Like,
bloodiest days of war that we've ever seen.
yeah, and so it's astonishing to me that people don't care to look at our history, and two, the facts of the situation and circumstances. And might I add, the amount of resources that are currently in Venezuela right now are ours. And I'm not saying like, oh, mine the country dry or anything like that, but it's like you realize this man Maduro had the ability to like completely change the economical stance of Venezuela. But the fact that he didn't care to do that shows his lack of care to his own people and his own country.
Yeah, no, I mean, I, couple that with Trump going in, I forget how many barrels of oil. It was a couple million, I want to say. But that was the first thing he did was he went and took a bunch of oil, gathered it together, and then paid the people of Venezuela for it. He was like, "Hey, this is what this could mean for you. You no longer have somebody that refuses to do business with the outside world outside of drugs and destroying things. I want to come in here and buy this and give you the money to rebuild, to do things on your own." It's
And
nuts.
I honestly, I woke up that morning to seeing reels of what was like hundreds of thousands, if not possibly millions, of Venezuelans screaming and cheering.
Oh
Right. And
yeah,
you're
celebrating.
telling me that these people don't have the right to celebrate because their dictator was wrongfully imprisoned. No, they have the right to celebrate because now they are free from tyranny. They are free from a dictatorship that they did not want to begin with. Nobody elected him, nobody wanted him there. He stayed and he forced his way through. And this is exactly what should happen to dictators. They should be dethroned and removed from the country and presented in due process to the justice system. That's how this should play out at the end
Yeah,
of the day. You commit a crime regardless of and the thing is people are like, "Oh, Trump didn't have a right, he didn't do anything." He was sending millions upon billions of dollars of drugs into the US. That is a international crime.
I was about to say,
He
I
has
think,
the right to be tried by a US government for his crimes against the United States. Like that's point blank, that's the law.
that was the empathy I think I had in the situation in the very beginning. Was like, do we really have the right to go into another country, take somebody, and then bring them here and charge them in a court of or court of law that is not the laws that they are in their country? And it wasn't until someone laid out that exact fact that you just did that, while if he had only been selling drugs inside Venezuela, we would have had no right. But the fact that he was
Yeah.
sending all these boats, across that strait right there between Venezuela and the United States, bringing in, I mean, the worst of the worst, fentanyl, coke, meth, everything like that. He's sending all of that shit in here. That affects us. We have every right to charge him on that if we can get him here. Obviously, we can. We went in. I think the crazy thing to me that I saw too is that China and Russia had supplied all this anti aircraft stuff. And we landed helicopters right next to them and shut them down. And nobody knew we were there. So,
And the fact of the matter that these troops, I think they said there were what, like 20 troops that went in and that's it. And they took him down in what, like 30 minutes?
yeah, it wasn't
They
long.
went in, came out. It was so quick. And they had like I think they said that they had to take down like 4,000 people that were trying to engage to keep Maduro there. And I'm like, that's one, props to our military to where we were able to get only 20 people there. Nobody got injured, nobody got hurt, nobody got killed, nothing. They were in, they were out, and everybody left within the span of less than an hour. Like that takes skill. That takes courage and like the capability to do that is insane. And that I think that shows the strength that our U.S. military and all the people that lay their lives day in day out to protect this country. It shows their dedication and their commitment and their strength and power and ability to do something as phenomenal as they do. Like the U.S. military, time and time again, is. I mean, obviously, there's no doubt about it. Like we are the number one military in the world, but when you hear things like that, like it's insane.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know the only people that were killed in the operation to take Maduro out of Caracas was the security personnel inside the presidential palace. But I want to say 83 is the number that comes to mind that was reported.
Well,
They,
that's the personal military service that was in the place. I think they didn't like kill, but I know they took down a lot of people. Taken down as in like immobilizing. I know they took a lot of people and immobilized them so that they can execute this flawlessly. And I mean that's exactly what they did, man. Like in and out under an hour. They jumped off, grabbed him, put him on the plane, and they were out. And it's insane to me again that like time and time again, we have the greatest military in this world,
no, and that's what
hands down.
I
There's
I just looked it up to make sure. It is 83 were killed. So
yeah, 83
32,
were killed.
yeah, 32 Cuban personnel that Maduro had in his security detail, and then the remaining 51 were Venezuela military members. But I mean, when you're talking about that, the report also shows that they came into contact with over 3,800 individuals that were arming facilities related to the operation. The fact that that's how many people they came into contact with and that's all that happened. Not that you want anyone to die
Like it's
again, but
yeah, but again, it's just remarkable to me that we have such a great capable military
yeah,
that
the precision that would have
nobody
went into
can.
that.
Oh yeah, and the amount of timing and planning that has to go into something like that, it's not just you wake up and you do it. There's a lot of effort that goes into it from you know, all directions that have to come into it and actually properly execute it flawlessly the way that they did is insane. So I mean, props to those guys, props to our military, any man or woman that's serving right now, like you guys are and will always be the utmost of this country,
Yep.
hands down.
All the respect to our military members. No, and I'll use it as my segue into something else we said we would talk about. The whole Greenland thing coming back up and going back and forth with Denmark. And I remember it cracking me up when Denmark was like, well, you won't take it from us. And Trump's response was kind of like, we're the US, we can take whatever we want. Who can stop us? Again, like,
And I mean, I know you haven't really been follow. I don't know, like I know you have followed it, but not too closely. And I haven't really followed it too closely myself either. But I did see something the other day, I think yesterday or this morning. I'm not sure exactly if it's, how much accurate these details are, but one thing that I saw is I think it's like they're coming to an agreement where, you know, obviously we wouldn't acquire Greenland, but we would have sanctioned bases there in Greenland, and we would be able to mine unlimited resources out of Greenland, and that does not have an expiration date. Now, I don't know exactly how factual this information is,
I
but
know
if
we
that is the case,
I know there was that, and we're trying to facilitate kind of similar to what the goal was in the Middle East, that we're helping to facilitate Greenland's independence because they're still technically a part of the I don't know if it's Danish, that feels wrong, but the Denmark crown. I I know they're still a big part of that. So we're trying to help them with their independent side of things and being their own sovereign country. But then we're also wanting to put that military presence. I did hear about the bases because Trump's number one agenda right now is don't let China become a neighbor of the US. Don't let Russia become a neighbor of the US. Don't let North Korea, don't let Iran, don't let Iraq. He wants to make sure that there's a presence there of US military to keep our greatest adversaries away from being right next to us.
yeah. And I mean, again, I don't know how factual the whole, mineral mining is. But if that is the case, everybody's like, oh, he needs to back down, and like whenever he surrenders, everybody's like, oh, he's a wuss or whatever. But if you think about it this way, right? Trump wanted Greenland purely because of a lot of the resources and stuff like that as well, right? Like that
Hmm.
that was one of the key things that stuck out when it comes to Greenland. And the fact that they came to an agreement where the US can mine minerals, oil, and resources, and there is no expiration date to that, that makes Trump the ultimate I guess mastermind. I don't know. It feels like kind of like a weird term for it, but the ultimate strategist. We could put it that the ultimate strategist when it comes to this kind of situation because he got what he wanted.
Yeah, he's 8 or 9
The U.S.
steps
got
ahead
what
on
they wanted.
everything. He doesn't
Yeah,
care
and
about
so
actually
it's
planting a US flag there. He just wants to be able to go in and get the resources to lower our cost of manufacturing, everything like that.
and so it's astonishing to me that we have individuals that are saying that he's the worst president in the U.S. history, but like, what president do you know that was capable of doing all of that? And it's another statistic that I think I saw either today or yesterday, but he has brought crime rate down lower than it has been in history since 1900.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I know people have their own quarrels with that because most of that came from sending National Guard into these crime centers. But I mean,
That's
something's got
exactly
to be
what we needed,
done.
though.
Yeah, something's got to be
Yeah.
done. I mean, you're talking about it's a joke being a Second Amendment advocate. You know, Chicago is one of the largest cities that is a gun free zone, but has the highest rate of homicide by firearm anywhere in the country. You've
And
got to have
one thing
something.
that one thing that I saw again. This is another reel that I saw on Instagram somewhere, but there was this girl approaching, I guess, this group of girls, and this one girl kind of was talking about this whole perspective, and her thing was, this was the girl that this influencer approached, and the girl's whole kind of thing was, oh, we don't need guns. Guns are something that we as Americans don't need in the country, and all this stuff. And so the girl kind of, there was a bit of an exchange between them. They were talking back and forth, and the girl was like, okay, well, if you're saying get rid of all the guns, then what would you do if an intruder came into your house? Then the other girl was like, well, then I would get a knife. Like, you can still like harm somebody with a knife. And then the other girl was like, okay, but what if the other person has a knife too? Right? Like, you can't, you can't just fight with somebody off of pure merit because you don't know who they are, you don't know how capable they are. But also another factor was, what if that person had a gun? And she was like, because criminals are not going to abide by gun laws. Like, they're going to get this shit. Like, you can get drugs and stuff like that from any place at any time. And for some reason, I don't know what was going on in this other girl's head, but she agreed with it. She was like, yeah, exactly. And the influencer was like, okay, you're just kind of proving my point. It's so hypocritical, right? Because people don't realize that even if you make something illegal, it's still going to be out there,
Yeah,
right?
criminals
Drugs
don't
are
care.
illegal in this country. Yeah, drugs are illegal in this country, yet we have a massive problem of drugs like opioids, cocaine, meth, all that stuff. We have a huge problem with drugs in this country, and drugs are illegal in all states. Yet people still do them. People still take them, right? And that proves the point of, if you're going to be a criminal, you're not going to back down for any specific law or anything like that. If you're going to be a criminal, you're going to be a criminal regardless of what the law says. So using the logic of making something illegal isn't going to prevent people from getting it or doing anything anyways. They're still going to do it, but making it a law is allowing them to make it punishable, right? But again, if somebody breaks into your house, right, you want to make sure that you are able to protect your household at any cost. If somebody breaks into your house and intends to harm you in order to do whatever it is that they need to do, then you need to have the right to protect yourself so that you're not in harm's way. The people that are there with you are not in harm's way, and you can do your damnedest to protect your home and your property and your family and the people that you care about. That's
Yep. Because
as
I mean,
basically the exact reason of the Second Amendment.
you hope you'd be able to call for emergency services, call the police and things like that. But if somebody's breaking into your home and you call the police, they're going to be a minimum 5 minutes out, most anywhere that you're at. You don't have 5 minutes. I don't mean to put it
Well,
that blunt, and it was the way that it was taught to me when I took my concealed carry courses and all of that. He told us the best thing that you can do if you're ever in a defensive situation. Of course, the first thing to do is get out. Like, if you hear something in the basement and you're sitting in the living room, and you don't go put yourself in a situation that's dangerous, go out the door, call the cops, get away from it. But if you're in a situation where you're trapped and it's you or them, the best thing you can do is to call 911, put them on speaker, put it next to you, barricade yourself as far as you can into the corner of your home, put things between you and the door, and as loud as you can, say your full name, say your full address, and say that you fear for your life and that you will defend it. And repeat it until they either leave and cops get there or until you have to defend yourself. Because then you have recorded written proof that you were defending yourself. You can't wait for somebody all the time. You can't wait for emergency services. And not even to put that, I mean, Michigan still has the issue that people can't respond to calls because their cars don't have gas. They're so defunded, they can't afford to keep patrol vehicles fueled up. And then stealing from, I know I've shown you some of his music. There's a rapper that I've gotten into with Samson. And he's got a song, What About Us? And in there, he's got the one line where the argument's always like, what's your little AR-15 going to do if the government comes and takes it? Because that's the first part of the Second Amendment, is that it's to allow us to have a readily armed private militia as the American people defend against tyranny. But then we look at Ukraine, and the first thing that happened when Russia invaded was they started passing out rifles. So you're telling me that it's not going to help, but the first thing that everyone does is start passing out rifles. I guarantee it's better than nothing. And when something does happen, you hope it never does, but you're going to wish you had something.
yeah, and at the end of the day, like again, the Second Amendment right doesn't just exist to exist. It exists for a reason, right? You have your priority at the end of the day is to make sure that you uphold the safety of yourself, everybody that's around you, your home, your property, and the safety of your community, right? And if you're not able to do that because of gun laws, like that kind of eliminates the whole purpose of the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is you have the right to conceal carry, but it's for the purpose of protecting yourself in a situation
Mm-hmm.
that could lead to a life or death tragedy. And I mean that's something that nobody wants to deal with. That's something that nobody wants to, you know, have to worry about. And so, owning some form of protection is your way to make sure that you are protected at all costs. And it's just it baffles me that we have people that are so blind to their own hypocrisy that they won't acknowledge the fact that you know it's not just about one side or the other. Like there everybody wants protection. That's how it is. But another thing that really was funny to me was I saw this I saw another reel where this girl was saying, I don't know what was going on in her head, but she was basically like, oh, making fun of the whole "guns don't kill people, people kill people"
I saw that one.
slogan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was
Cars
like,
don't
"Oh,
drive people to
guns
work.
don't people." Yeah, it's like, "Oh, people don't or guns don't kill people, people kill people." Then bread doesn't make sandwiches, people make sandwiches. Or cars don't drive people, people drive people. Like stuff like that. And I'm like, you're literally saying the logical
Yeah.
thing. You're literally
You're
saying what actually happens.
you are proving
And
the
you're
actual
not
fucking
able to
point.
but you're not able to link two and two together to realize what you're saying as mockery of something is actual logic. Like that's actually how shit works. Like you can't just say, "Oh, guns kill people." But the guns don't do anything. They aren't innate objects. They are just objects that are controlled by people for use, right? Like it baffles me at how oblivious, ignorant, and flat out blind people are because they want to push their agenda, their narrative. They are blindsided by, they're blindsided away from logic and clouded by their own personal judgment and opinions to realize what logic actually means in this world. And it's crazy how delusional people can be.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know 2016 was the first election that I was old enough to vote in. And I can remember walking around college and you walk by a Bernie booth, and I can remember thinking, like, that sounds really nice. Like, his the booth was always about, like, free healthcare, free college, and I'm like, that's great. And then I started doing my own research because I was like, if I'm going into that booth, I want to make sure I'm informed to the best of my ability and make the choice that I feel is best for me. And when you start looking at it, and it was where I heard this quote from, Democrats are the party of the best intention. I honestly believe that. Not this far left bullshit, but honest, true old world Democrat is the best intentions for the world. Take care of everybody. Everyone has what they need. Everyone gets what they need. And nobody has to worry about acquiring it. Republicans are the side of logic of it would be great if we could make college free for everybody, but who's going to pay for it? It would be great if you went to the doctor and there were no bills, but how does that doctor get paid? It's when you start getting into those, and that's why I'm conservative. That's why I fall on the more conservative side of the spectrum, because I want the best for everybody, but I want to know how we're going to pay for it. How are we going to afford it? Because we can't just do it on hopes, wishes, and dreams. We did that for 4 years under Biden, and we have destroyed the housing market. We've destroyed every retail market. We destroyed the stock market. Everything is in shambles, and we're doing our best right now to try to come back from it and to really fix it and flip it. But fuck, it sucks.
I mean, it's again, it's one thing to want, everybody to prosper, whatever, everybody to be able to afford this or do that and all this stuff. But again, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, how can you logically provide free services? Like for example, New York, Mamdani was trying to do free transportation, and free housing and stuff like that, free food markets and things like that. But like, how are you going to pay for it,
Yeah,
right?
who's going to pay for it? Is it going to be
Food.
the taxpayer?
Yeah, like you want free transportation, okay, but who's going to pay the driver of the buses or the conductor of the train, stuff like that,
Who's going to put gas in
to
the bus?
transport people from point A to point. Yeah, who's gonna do who's gonna do the maintenance on the bus? Who's gonna, who's gonna pay for new equipment, new materials? Like, there's a lot that goes on to it. And again, like, for the whole free food situation, like, who's going to pay the farmers for their countless hours of labor and, going out to the field, picking the crops, stuff like that? Like, who's going to pay them for that? Who's going to pay them for the gas that they need to use in their tractors to, maintain the fields? Who's going to pay for the water supply that they need to, um, water the crops? There's so much that goes into it that you cannot just make stuff free, right? It's impossible to just make stuff free for people without there being a cost associated to it, so that then everybody comes out at the end of the day with their fair share of everything. And that's the downside is with the Democratic Party, it's like they don't think about things logically, and they don't use their minds to kind of understand that the world isn't just something that you can take and take and take and not give back to. You have to give back to it. And so I think I think right now we're just kind of in a world where people are living in a delusional mindset to some degree, where they're like, "Oh, I want this for free. I want that for free." But how do you expect that to be free when there's a lot of processes that go behind it? Are you willing to volunteer to drive a bus without getting paid?
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
mean,
That's
it's
that'll
where
cut costs for sure.
it's where I have a general disagreement with socialism, and it comes down to a fallacy in my mind, where you give everyone everything for free, an equitable society, everyone gets the same of everything. But the way that it was broken down from me from a young or like a younger age is put it in the mindset of school, and that you're in this math class, and however many kids are in the math class, and everybody takes the test, and in a capitalist society, just the one that we're most familiar with, if you work the hardest, you study the most, you go in and you get a high grade, that's because you put in the work, you fought for it, and you did it. But in a socialist society, you go in, you fight for it, you do it, you get a good grade, but then Jimmy in the back of the class doesn't do so great, and they cut yours in half to give half of it to him. How long until that discourages the top earner to be like, well, if I'm just going to get from somebody else and we're all going to be the same in the end anyway, I'm not going to try anymore. I'm not going to fight for this
Yeah.
anymore. And so when
Yeah.
you put it into an economic policy like that, the buses are free because I go out and I work really hard, and half of what I make is taken away to give to those that don't work. I'm eventually going to get discouraged, and I'm going to stop working because there's another taxpayer that'll take care of me.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, that's like the demotivation of our country right now is people are getting handouts and nobody is willing to, you know, actually put in the work, put in the effort, and actually give something back to the communities that are giving them all of this stuff, right? Like, in my opinion, I think the whole federal aid stuff, right? Like with SNAP and all that. I genuinely think that they need to put a cap on it, but also two, they need to put a restriction on it of, hey, we need to see proof that you're actually putting yourself out there to try and make a living on your own.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not doing that, you're not going to receive these benefits because you are proving to us that you're not willing to put in your side of the effort into going into our community and actually putting your 40 hours of hard-earned labor to earn the money that you need to receive. And so this isn't, it's not something that's free, right? We can't just hand people money for free. We've been doing that. Again, um we talked about the whole fraud incident with Somalian daycares and transportation services and all that stuff, right? And we've been giving them billions of taxpayer dollars for what? Right? That's hard-earned money that we made through our hard-earned work and labor that gets taken out of our paycheck, put into a fund that's supposed to go to legitimate businesses that need it, government businesses that need it, right? But it's evident that they are going to places that are not legitimate government businesses, but instead individuals that don't want to actually put forth time, effort, and hard-earned work into our communities to make the money that they need to live off of, right? And it's kind of a spit in the face to the rest of the working class Americans because it shows them that your hard-earned work doesn't really mean anything. Like, you don't mean anything as an American citizen because you're putting in your hard-earned time, effort, and you're you know working countless hours every single week to make ends meet, and some of that gets taken, thrown into a fund, and given to somebody else that is leeching off of the government without having any sort of time or work put into it, and instead is just taking the money and throwing it somewhere else that, you know, pretty much we all end up paying for at the end of the day. And it's horrible to see that where nobody is willing to open their eyes and realize what's actually going on in this country.
Yeah, no, and it's funny enough, it was another thing that I was going to mention. I know I didn't say it before we started recording, but have you seen the shit in Alberta, Canada?
I have not.
Okay, so Alberta, Canada, it's a province kind of western side of North America. It's not the farthest over, but it's right next to the farthest over. Alberta
Yeah.
being similar to how a state is here in the US. They've got lines waiting in 0 degree weather, negative temperature weather to sign a petition to secede from Canada. Like they don't want it anymore. And I saw a bunch of jokes on X of like, well, the 51st state right there, that's it. But they've got this whole coalition for a free Alberta. They want to be their own nation altogether. They they're tired of Ottawa taking all of their resources. They're one of the number one producers of oil in North America, just in general, looking at the province as a total. But yet Ottawa takes it all and gives them none of the money that's created from it, or a very small fraction of it. And so their whole thing is like, what if we just stopped giving it to them? What if we became our own nation? We produced our own oil, sold it on the open
Yeah.
market to the US, to Canada, to Mexico. What if we mined our own resources and sold them? What if we did open trade and did all of these things, and we can invest in our people before we invest in a people in Ottawa, in Montreal, in Toronto, the different major cities that are on the eastern side of Canada. And I think they need 165,000 signatures to be able to put it on the open ballot that's coming up. I do not know how much they have. I'm trying to look it up real quick. Cause they've got a website, stayfreealberta.com. Uh, it's in person only. I thought they would have a account going, but obviously not.
I, I just I just think that it's very ridiculous. Just we've dealt with so many issues, and people are just so blindsided. Their opinions are shadowing the truth and the facts behind a lot of things that are going on right now. Right now it's creating an unnecessary uproar, right? Like right now, and I guess this is a good segue to this, right? In Minneapolis, we're seeing that troops are being deployed by Governor Walz in Minneapolis, um, and it's ridiculous because this is the stance of a civil war in my eyes, right? We have a defiant governor that isn't all they had to do was let allow their officers, all the different departments within Minnesota to agree and help assist ICE operations and what's not happening is just that, and in fact, it's the exact opposite, right? Where they have Waltz has you know enacted on the Insurrection Act within Minneapolis to try and get rid of ICE, which is a federal agency, right? And so now you're going against your own government for what? To allow crime to continue, to allow chaos to ensue within not only your own state but within your own country at this point. Like, this is outrageous.
Yeah, no, I
And
mean,
one thing that I saw was, Obama, Pelosi, all of them that are in their own states are also supporting this. They're like, oh, we can send our own troops in to help you guys out from our own states. And it's outrageous to me because it's like you're feeding into this civil war. This is not something that somebody that wants the peace of their own country would do. You're not, and again, the other thing that is just so outrageous about this entire situation is that this is the same exact thing that Obama was doing. Hell, if anything, Obama was doing it a lot more and a lot worse, right? If you look at the ICE facilities right now, right? Let's just take a look at the children's facility, for example. They're not being in as opposed to what they were in Obama's term, where they were literally in massive rooms, caged off, fenced off, and just sitting in one spot, right? With hundreds upon hundreds of these immigrants waiting to be deported, right? Trump gathered all of these kids, put them into educational facilities where they can learn, they can play, they can be children, right? They can actually do the things that normal children do. And it's crazy to me because Obama deported 4 million illegal immigrants during his term. I think Trump is still at just about a what 1.5 million.
yeah,
And it's
and
like it's
he's nowhere
crazy
close
to
to Obama's numbers.
like and it's crazy to think that people are still so blindsided and so biased to their own beliefs that they don't realize that this is something that we have been doing in the United States for years. This is something that every president has been doing in the United States for years, right? Our borders are a law, right? You can't cross them illegally and expect us to just let you stay here, right? Especially if you commit another violent crime within our country that is against our laws.
Oh yeah,
And if you commit those crimes, you are due to be processed within our country and then deported back to your home country. That is how the law itself works. You
it's
cannot expect to just get a slap on the wrist and let go into the exact same country that you just broke laws in,
it's still one of my
especially if you
favorite.
broke the biggest law.
It's still one of my favorite like mic drop moments from early Trump second term with Caroline Levitt, the Speaker of the House, or not Speaker of the House, the press secretary. I don't know why I said Speaker of the House. The press secretary, she was doing a conference on it, and they had said, we're going to take out the lawbreakers, and the focus was on the people doing the worst of the worst, murderers, child predators, everything like that. But when they asked her, they were like, well, you're also just deporting normal people. And she was like, I don't think I follow. And the reporter was like, well, you said you're going to target lawbreakers. These people haven't broken the law. And she was like, no, they did. Everyone that is here illegally has broken the law. It's in the name, an illegal immigrant. And they were like, well, they didn't break a law like you said. And she was like, regardless, if we find them, it's not going to be like, wow, you didn't do anything else. We're just going to leave you alone. You broke the law. We are going to enforce the law, and you're going to go home.
Another
And
thing that that really kind of that happened recently that really kind of annoyed me is the whole Don Lemon shirt situation,
oh,
right?
good lord.
And this kind of ties into that a little bit, right? Now, Don Lemon didn't have to go and again go into this church and do what he did, but he chose to, for one. For two, right? He went up to the pastor and was like, "Oh, all these people have freedom of speech. Like you can't do anything about that." But one thing that he didn't realize is that very same amendment allows for freedom of religion.
Yeah,
That very same amendment allows this congregation to be there and to again have their freedom and their right to their religion. And for second, right, people always assume that, you know, churches, things like that, it's public property. Technically it's not. You can walk into a church, yes, but you have to have the premise and the motive of going there for religious purposes, right? Going there to, be part of the service and whatnot. You cannot go in there and start spewing bullshit and then expecting them to just sit there and take it when you yell out and scream, "Oh, it's my freedom of speech, it's my First Amendment right." That's not how this works.
yeah, no, that's I know that's why they're pulling out the FACE Act a lot when they're talking about it. Because the FACE Act, the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances, is ratified in 1994. And it's basically in that, yes, you have the First Amendment right, but your First Amendment right can't infringe on anybody else's, specifically in regards to healthcare and religious freedom in that act. And that your ability to protest can't be used to exhibit force, threat of force, or physical obstruction against somebody else in their ability to go and worship, whether it be in a church, whether it be to go to the doctor, different things like that. And that's exactly what that was. Yes, they have the First Amendment right to protest, and had they stood
Yeah.
outside the church and did their thing with their signs, that's your right. But you walked through the door and you stopped somebody else from expressing their First Amendment right. I'm not going into a mosque and in the middle of a call for prayer screaming whatever I want. I'm not going into a synagogue and screaming whatever I want. I, it's
Yep.
just,
And I mean, like, it's just crazy. It's ridiculous now. It's outrageous. And one other thing that really is outrageous about the whole situation is the thing that Don Lemon said at the end. He said whenever these kids, these families were leaving, he was like, "Oh, these kids are probably traumatized, and they should be." No, no child deserves to be traumatized regardless of somebody's beliefs and somebody's opinions. That child has the right to grow up in a country where he is not going to be demonized for what he believes in. He has the right to grow up in a country and feel safe to go to church, feel safe to have his beliefs and have his morals and values, right? There should
mm-hmm.
not be a reason to traumatize somebody purely because of other individuals' opinions. That's not right at all. That is the child's right to be in a safe space. And a lot of times church is supposed to be that, right? A place of worship, place of religion is supposed to be a place of freedom and absolute sanctity and safety. Right. And if you eliminate that, then you are eliminating the right of freedom of religion, in my opinion. That
Yeah,
is that is the fact and that is the case stance.
because I mean, you and me growing up together, we had different views on faith and religion, but I could have never imagined walking into your church. And the same thing from you. I know you would have never thought of walking into my church and going off on something. Even just like, I know
Yeah.
if you had ever came to my church, you would have walked in and been respectful. You would have been like, this isn't my thing. This isn't what I believe, but I respect your right to, and I'm here to hang out after whatever we would be doing. But no, I think my thing is when Don Lemon went up to the pastor, I've got a lot of respect for him, both on just a general human standpoint, but also as a Christian. The only thing he said to Don Lemon was just like, hey man, we're here to worship Jesus. That's all we're doing. We're here to have a moment with our God and say what we believe and have a moment of worship. we're not here to start anything, and we don't want anything started here. If you could just let us do our thing and we could have a conversation after.
And that's exactly how you de-escalate a situation. That's exactly how you handle a situation like that. Is you don't act in any sort of unjust. You just say, hey, you try and de-escalate the situation as much as you possibly can, so that both parties can keep moving forward and do what it is that they are there to do. But you can evidently see that Don Lemon is being an aggressor and an agitator in this situation, because he is constantly, regardless of the preacher trying to just continue on with the service of the day, trying to get all of these all of his fellow service members to get home and get safe and just have a normal, peaceful day. Don Lemon is constantly pressuring and pushing and trying to push his narrative to this guy, and it's very disrespectful for somebody to just waltz into a church and just be as agitating as Don Lemon and that crew of people were. And in my opinion, like, I have seen that they had tried to stick charges to it for Don Lemon, but they haven't been able to. And in my opinion, that's unjust. That's unjust to the First Amendment right that we have for freedom of religion. Just like protesters constantly scream that it's unjust for their right of freedom of speech, even though they actively commit crimes for it, it's unjust for you to go into a church, interrupt a service, and refuse people their right and freedom of religion through the First Amendment. And it's mind boggling. It's mind boggling that we have individuals that think that, these laws don't apply to them because they're just spewing lies.
Yeah, it's so stupid. The whole situation's so fucking stupid. I I don't get it on any level. I don't get where I guess just the overall the broad painting of the pen from the left side right now of like fuck it, I'm pissed off and I'm just gonna go tell the entire world and I'm gonna riot in the streets and burn down buildings and destroy shit and so stupid. I don't get what because you don't see it. You don't see it from the other side. The only example they've got is they can point to would have been January 6th back in 2021. But even that was more peaceful than anything else we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we're breaking into churches and screaming in kids' faces. We're loading up streets and using fucking dumpsters as places to kill ICE and using them as rolling shields as they walk down the streets of Minneapolis and St. Paul. I, I don't get it. I don't get where this is coming from, but fuck, it's getting scary.
Yeah. And I mean, only thing that I can say in this situation for anybody out there is just please make sure you guys stay safe. If there is anything going on, like I've been seeing a lot of videos of people walking up to just random people just going about their day and accusing them of being ICE. And it's like, if you're walking up to somebody, right, they just got off of a long day of work. They're trying to get home. They're trying to, buy groceries so they can make food for their families and whatnot. You're approaching them and wrongfully accusing them of being something that they're not, and then demanding that you see their information. You're not the police. You do not have the authority to see their information. You cannot just request anybody's information because you suspect them of doing something that you don't like. That's not how law and order works. If you do that, then you are the problem, right?
Yeah,
You are the one that's causing the mayhem in this world, that's causing the unjust. And you, to if anybody out here is watching and is a part of that, I highly request and recommend that you guys reconsider your approach to this whole situation because going up to random people that are just trying to live their lives and requesting and demanding seeing their information, that is unjust. That is something that they have a right to conceal because they are US citizens. They are Americans. They have the ability to have their own privacy, right? That's a right in our country. And just because you have a belief, that does not give you the right to harass somebody for their information because you suspect that they are somebody that they evidently are not. So, to anybody out there that is thinking about being an agitator, please reconsider because you are causing more of a problem than you think. And at the end of the day, if you guys don't, agree with what we say, that's fine. But just be respectful. At the end of the day, we're all on this earth to live our lives. We're all here to make a living, to keep going with whatever it is that we have going on. Yeah, we at the end of the day, we're not going to agree on everything. Nobody is going to agree on everything, regardless of who it is. But that doesn't mean we cannot coexist on this planet in this country as one, regardless of those differences. Those differences can be our strengths at the end of the day if you use them the right way. Right now, we are not using them the right way. So for anybody out there, you know, if you guys are contemplating on any of these acts or anything like that, please one think about it, right? Think about what it is that you're doing, think about the risks that it comes with, but also think about the fact that at the end of the day, if you put yourself in somebody else's shoes, you're going to see their opinions from their view and realize that, hey, maybe what they think, maybe what they believe is right for them. Who am I to judge?
Yeah, that would be my message too. Is just reconsider what's going on, reconsider your stance. If you really stand against something, just go out and make your voice heard peacefully and not out of the way, but not in the street, not fighting with cops, not fighting with federal law enforcement. Make your voice heard, but don't agitate because that does not help your message. It just makes everyone not want to listen to you. And I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Eh,
Well,
But yeah, I
for anybody out there, obviously, if you guys have your own opinions or anything like that, feel free to share them, right? Again, this is a safe space. Even if you don't have the same opinions or agree with what it is that we say, again, we're all here to be respectful first and foremost to one another. We're all here for one purpose, and that is to continue living our lives and giving back to the community the way that we received from it. And if, there's anything out there that you guys may have disagreements of or agree with us on, please let us know in the comments. Again, respectfully, we all may have different opinions and we all may have different ideas and see the world different ways, but that doesn't mean that we cannot all come together as a collective to improve and progress upon the community and our society and our world as equals. We all have something that we can all give to this world. We all have something that we can give to our country, even if it's different things, but there's also a way to do that as a collective cohesive unit all together. So if you guys have any sort of comments or any sort of thoughts, maybe you disagree with us, maybe you agreed with us, and you'd like to share anything, please feel free to drop a comment on that below. Also, feel free to drop a comment on what you guys would want us to talk about in future episodes because, at the end of the day, there's more to life than just politics. There's more to life than just, you know, going through tough times. And everybody has a story. Uh, you know, like whenever we started this podcast, we shared a little bit about ourselves, and we had, both of us have had kind of difficult upbringings, difficult pasts. Hell, all both still currently going through a lot in our own personal lives, and our social lives and everything like that as well. And so life isn't something that is straightforward. Everybody has their ups, everybody has their downs. If you guys have your own personal struggles, or you have your own personal problems, and you would like to get further opinions or thoughts on them, feel free to let us know that as well. We're here to listen to you guys. We're here to help you guys. We're here to just talk. So, if there's anything that anybody out there wants to talk about or wants to hear about, please let us know.
Yeah. And leave us a like, a comment, share, anything you want to talk about. And just leave it down there. We're always happy to kind of dive into whatever comes next in this saga. So I I know we've enjoyed having you here. We enjoy doing this kind of thing. We'll keep trying to bring you as much as we can. So until then, it's nice to have you here. Just remember, you've always got a spot under the lantern. Thank you for listening.